Oh, okay, so hello, good afternoon, good night, good morning, whatever time it is, whatever time you are. Here it's midnight, almost midnight anyway. So this is our project, our Monkey Madness project of our banana bread experiment. We have a teammate. We have four people in our teams. We have Dylan, who bought the ingredients, created the plan. We have me. I'm Jamaal. I also provided utensils and I created the grand plan, and I also contributed to the PowerPoint presentation, and I'm the one who's narrating this PowerPoint presentation as of now. We also have Tiffany, who created the base for the PowerPoint, and we had Lydia, who did all the baking and recorded some of the data. Now let's get on to our experiment. So our experiment was technically we wanted to test the height and the taste of banana bread, depending on how much flour and baking soda we use. So we went online. We found the oh my God, we found ingredient list. I think that's what it's called. Ingredient list for banana bread, as you can see on the right hand side. So we found a simple ingredient list on the banana bread using just flour, baking soda, teaspoon of salt, butter, brown sugar, eggs, and overripe bananas, which they were mashed. And to the left is what the banana bread should come out to look like. Now let's talk numbers. This entire experiment is just about using statistics and using the ones and twos and making distribution and technically making a lot of data from not a lot of experiments. So as you can see here, we chose to use numbers 1 and 2. We use 1 as our high, 2 as our low. Down at the bottom, we show you the distribution of what we did, the flour. As 1, we show here what what 1 represents in actual measurements is 1 cup of flour. 2 represents 2 cups of flour. With the baking soda, we had a little problem with the baking soda, so we had to fudge the measurements a little bit. So 1 represents 0 to 1 teaspoons of baking soda, and 2 represents 2 teaspoons of baking soda. Now we made predictions based on what we had and what we thought was going to happen. As you can see here, our predictions, we thought that the less flour, if we had like low amount of flour, low amount of baking soda, it's going to make it a very not desirable taste, but still edible to eat. And we thought that if you had more baking soda and not as much flour, it'll probably get the best amount of taste. And with too much baking soda, too much flour, I mean, we subtract from the taste, but it's still not as bad as having not enough baking soda. As you can see here in our graph, we have sort of a triangle going on here for our taste. Our baking soda right here, as you can see, and our flour. The height was also predicted as well. We thought that the more baking soda you have, the higher the height will be. Also, the more flour you have, the higher our height will be, as baking soda is known to heighten all baking goods. We have pictures of what we did, our experiment as it was going along. As you can see, we have notes here on our experiment as we were doing them. These are all the breads and the finished products while they were baking, after they were baked. As you can see, you can take a look and see what's going on here. So these are our results. This is what we found out. We found out that the height actually is influenced by the amount of flour and baking soda that we have. And as you can see in our graph, in our table here, we had a drastic change of height. Went from 4.5 centimeters to 6.5 centimeters to 7.5 centimeters. And this is all changing the distribution of a teaspoon of baking soda and flour. And our taste also changed. Our taste was on 1 to 5. So as you can see in our notes here, the first experiment with the baking soda, the least amount of baking soda, the low baking soda, low flour, we had not desirable banana bread. It wasn't something you'd want to eat. As you can see at the bottom here, turns out the most desirable banana bread was the one with the most baking soda and the most flour. It was a bit dry and a little crumbly and stuff, but it was edible. It was not that bad. Not that bad. This is our change in height, represented by our graph here. This is where we went from the 0 to the 1 for our low for the baking soda, as you can see. And our 2 is our high. So our change in taste. Taste was very important. Did not turn out as we predicted. It's more of a linear graph than it was a triangle as before. And we concluded that more baking soda and more flour gives you greater height. Also, banana bread without baking soda is dense, it's dry, it tastes bad, it's horrible. You can barely get it down your throat. It's not something I'd recommend. And the best tasting banana bread had the most amount of baking soda and the most amount of flour. That's something to note. And for future research and reference, I would recommend baking more bread, running more experiments so you can have more conclusive data and more of like a larger, I guess, plethora of data. Since we only ran 3 experiments, we technically don't have as much data as one would use for scientific analysis. But we had enough that we could use for secular analysis. So that was that is we ran on the taste and we ran on the height. Also, we need to make heat a variable next time. That will probably help. We ran into the problem I said as before with the baking soda, and we needed more materials that were more cost efficient because some of our material was quite expensive. Thank you.